Good afternoon and welcome to Jumpstart's monthly expert-led webinar, today with Sam Laliberte on the art of self-promotion. I'm Lauren Smith-Putta and I serve as Jumpstart's Director of Education. Jumpstart offers this webinar series on a different topic every month, along with a variety of other educational programs and events. Visit jumpstartinc.org/smallbiz to explore some of our other educational opportunities for small businesses. Before I introduce our presenter today, a few housekeeping items. This presentation session will be 60 to 90 minutes with time set aside at the end for Q&A. In your toolbar at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see an important communication tool at your disposal today, the chat. Sam may ask you to respond to questions throughout, so please place your comments and responses there. You're also welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. You can also see the Q&A, which is a great place to put your questions as they occur to you. Unless they are super time sensitive, we'll hang on to those until the end. At the end of today's session and in a follow-up email, you'll receive today's conversation and content and a brief survey. We appreciate your feedback. It allows us to bring in experts and entrepreneurs to teach valuable lessons. All right, without further ado, allow me to introduce our presenter today. Sam created the Freedom Lifestyle community in November 2017 after finding herself unexpectedly unemployed when a dream job fell through. She endeavored to interview other freedom seekers who had embraced flexible work for direction for her next move. Turns out she wasn't the only one interested in this new way to work. Fast forward 5 years to a multi-season podcast with over 30,000 listeners, a consulting career, podcast agency, a diverse mix of passive and active revenue streams, speaking gigs at live and virtual events, and valued partnerships with game-changing companies such as WeWork, Fiverr, Remote Year, Brave, and others. All of this has been achieved while Sam's been working remotely from dozens of countries around the world while working less than 30 hours a week. I'm delighted that she's joining us today to encourage you all to self-promote as effectively and globally as she has. Sam, welcome.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you to everyone who filled out the poll. I look like I'm getting the results here. So very entrepreneurial audience, which is perfect. That is exactly who I created this workshop for, that I've delivered a few times now. And each time I take feedback from the audience, which sections were the most helpful, maybe where did I lose people a little bit. And so hopefully you're getting the best version of this today. And this is often what people think when they see the title of this presentation, right? The art of self-promotion, someone with their iPhone taking selfies, talking to the camera. And definitely that can be one way of self-promotion. But if you're coming into this where you even find the term self-promotion a little bit icky, makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, you have some associations with it, I want you to know that is very normal. I get that feedback from every time I deliver this presentation, as well as it's not the only way. So I'm going to explain to you today why that doesn't have to be your style if that's not your style today. The way I see self-promotion is so simply self-promotion, right, might be advocating for yourself. But I like to take it one level further, which is self-promotion is advocating for your ideas, right? What is your vision for your business? What is the mission behind what you're doing? Why are you doing the work that you're doing? What do you want to be known for? And what is your original thought leadership or authority? What are your ideas? When you start to change the energy and think about putting your ideas out there instead of just yourself and your offers and selling, then it really changes the energy around that quite a bit. And that's how you actually become a lot more effective in actually using self-promotion for our businesses, which is what today is about. Yes, it's about getting our names out there and being visible, but why do we want to do it? Well, we want to grow our businesses and we want to be successful entrepreneurs. And so I have a few different videos throughout this presentation. This is one I love that I wanted to share with you.
So many people limit themselves by saying, I don't want to self-promote.
I'm so glad we're going here. Let's go there.
This is not about me. I'm like, good. Because there is a huge difference between self-promotion and idea promotion. Promoting yourself is saying, look at me, look at how great I am. I'm special. You're sharing the awards you've won. You're posting a lot of selfies. You're in the spotlight. I think idea promotion is really different, which is to say, I made something I'm proud of. I hope it's valuable to you. I hope you get some joy out of it. If you don't put that out in the world, you're depriving people of benefiting from what you poured your heart into. And that to me seems like a mistake.
And I really agree with that. I make the assumption that everybody is coming from a place of creating a business and creating offers that they genuinely think can help solve some type of problem or make someone's life better and delight them in some way. And I really assume the best in people. And so when we are truly creating offers that we think are amazing and they really think solve real problems that people have, then it's a disservice not to tell people about them. And so the first question I want you to think about is, do you believe what you're building or what you've built and what your offers are? Do you actually believe they're valuable? Do they help people? Do they delight people? Do they solve a problem? Do they make someone's life better? Are they valuable? If the answer is yes, right, then let's tell people about it. You're in the right webinar. You're in the right space. Like we said, we got an hour and a half or so together. I'm going to give you my best knowledge and tools and proven templates here. We're going to tell the world about it. If you really don't think that what you created is valuable, I honestly think a better use of your time over the next hour is to go make it better. Go look at what your offer is and have a real honest conversation with yourself about like, okay, how could I look at this and rather than make it just about, I don't know, me or a quick win, how do I create this from a place of like, this is truly serving. This is truly about the customer. This is truly about solving a problem or delighting them in some way. Go make it better. But if it's good and you really believe in it, well, then you're in the right space and let's figure out how to tell people about it, okay? So why should you trust me to introduce this idea to you? Oh, you ahead. I'm a serial entrepreneur, as Lauren said. And so I've been running my business now since 2017. I've built multiple different products and revenue streams around it. And they're all in different industries, various types of products. But I think the core thing that I've always done is I've leveraged my personal brand to tell people about it and to attract customers and to attract opportunities. And so that doesn't mean that I'm an influencer necessarily, but it means that I've leveraged my own personal networks and my own personal brand to get the word out about these. And I've been successful at various types of products. And so throughout this presentation, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me about your businesses. And ideally, we can integrate some very specific coaching for you throughout this. But I have tested it in various different ways. I've also been in the personal branding world for quite a while. So I started my podcast in 2017 before they really went mainstream. And so that was really helpful in terms of me building an audience and understanding how podcasting can work and the role it can play in our businesses. And that turned into whole other revenue streams of podcast coaching. Prior to that, I did social media consulting work. So I really understand this space. I have been successful at using this knowledge that I'm talking about today to create a business that supports my lifestyle, but I'm going to take it even further. And this is why I think you should trust me the most. I believe in fitting work around my life. I really, truly created the freedom lifestyle because I believe that we can leverage flexible work arrangements, like having a business, like remote work, like being a freelancer, as a way to design our lives. I really believe that our life should come first. I really believe that we should be living how we want, where we want, the ways we want, and our work should just support that. So often it's the other way around, and I really believe in fitting work around our life. If you are nodding along and you're like, yes, that is why I started my business. I want the freedom, the flexibility to live life the way I want to live it, how I want to live it, with the people I want to live it with, then amazing. We just created some common ground and we are how many minutes in? Let's see, less than 10 minutes into the presentation. We already figured out something that we have in common. This is why these types of statements are so much more effective when you're advocating for yourself and promoting yourself than simply saying what I do. That first slide, you're probably like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, she's done some successful things. Interesting. But when I shift it and I say why I do what I do, that is when we're able to create a much stronger emotional connection. Maybe your ears perked up a little bit. Maybe you felt something inside of you, but it's a lot more effective when you explain why you do what you do versus just telling people what you do. So something to think about for yourself and how you introduce yourself in a networking event. So here are my outcomes for today. First and foremost, we need to address the elephant in the room. Not everybody has been talking to the internet and putting themselves out there for a decade like me. Some people might be new to this. Some people might have associations with self-promotion. Even if you are doing it, maybe there's a part of your next level that you're not able to tap into because of a fear that holds you back. So we have to address that, and we're going to get that done in the first third of the presentation. Then I'm going to share with you 3 really big marketing concepts, but break them down for you so that you can streamline all of your efforts. Because like I said, the vibe for me is not to be working all the time, definitely not to be spending 40 plus hours on our laptops or growing our businesses. It's about living our lives. And so I also want to help you be efficient and be really smart when it comes to self-promotion. Because it is kind of one of those things where you can never be done, right? We could always be marketing ourselves. We could always be putting ourselves out there more. So let's be really thoughtful about it. And then usually people's favorite part of the presentation, there's some really cool modern tools, different AI solutions that I'm using to create content that will really help you create authentic self-promotion. So this is what I have planned. Hopefully some of this is what you came for. If not, I know you'll leave with some nuggets that'll really help you in your business. So if you don't already have a journal in front of you or something to take notes in or write, I think it's scientifically proven that when you write down versus just type, you remember things better, you slow down your thoughts. And so there are a few journal prompts. I encourage you to grab a journal, grab a piece of paper, follow along with me, stay engaged. I know it's a long session, but I'm going to break it up in different parts so it's not just me talking to you for an hour. And then if you stick around to the end, which we'd love that, we're going to do a Q&A. So you'll be able to ask me any specific question, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to book a free coaching call. And so anything that we discussed today, we can hop on a call for 20 minutes. Let's get clear. Let's make sure you understand how this applies to your own business. Okay, sound good? We're ready. We got our journals. Let's get into the first part, our fears. Not the most pleasant topic, but here's how I see it. Often we have the skills, but fear doesn't let us use them. So I'll tell you a story. One of my offers is a podcast mastermind. And so it's a 3-month program where you can work with me in a group setting as well as one-on-one. And I teach you how to launch your very first podcast, step by step, all the tools, all the technologies, how to get on Apple and Spotify, how to do interviews. I'm really proud of the program. Like I've been doing this now for almost a decade. So I feel like I've nailed how to launch a podcast successfully and efficiently. Well, I was running the program and I noticed that only 25% of my students at the end of the 3 months were actually going and launching their podcast at the end. And that really took me by surprise because I was like, am I doing something wrong? Am I overcomplicating this? Did I miss a step in here? I didn't understand. So I started talking to other coaches in the space, and I would share that I was having this experience where I thought I made it really easy and I taught everybody how to do it. But then when it came to actually putting themselves out there on the internet and publishing their first podcast episode with their voice and having to hear it and share it with their friends, people weren't doing it. And a lot of coaches told me that that's completely normal, that no matter how much you equip someone with the skills and the proven templates, and you can even, do stuff for them, if they haven't worked past that mindset piece of, oh, well, what'll people think? If I have a podcast, is this good enough? Are people going to judge me? What if it doesn't work? What if nobody listens? If you haven't worked through that, you're never going to post your podcast. You're never going to publish it. You're never going to actually do the thing that you need to do in order to get to that next level or achieve that level of growth in your business that you want or start having that life that you want to be living. And so when I started integrating more mindset work into my program, the results were astonishing. I started to have up to 80% of people were publishing their podcast within the first month after graduating from the program. And so from then on, I've really shifted how I run my coaching programs. And I always integrate this piece of it because I'm telling you, it's so important. Even if you're the most detailed note taker today and you follow everything, if you still haven't worked past this, you're not going to do it. So I want you to put in the chat, if you're comfortable, just 1, 2, or 3, okay? Which fear will most likely prevent you from acting on today's knowledge? 1, fear of what people will think. That's the judgment. 2, fear of speaking to the void. So kind of being embarrassed. Maybe you go on live or you post something, no one listens to it, nobody comes, no one attends your webinar. Or fear that you're not good enough, self-doubt. So worrying that what you're creating, it's just not good enough. 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. Okay, lots of 2s and 3s. The 2s and 3s, okay? Not sure how to do it. Not having content to discuss, all of them. Yeah, thank you for being honest. Okay. Once you actually know what it is you're scared of, that's how we can start to make the change. And so what you ultimately need to get to a point is every time you catch yourself focusing on what could go wrong and why it's not going to work, you want to shift your mindset into like, what could go right? Well, what if it did work? What if I did post this thing or launch this or tell the world about it or get this idea out there? Like, what would that mean? Like, what could go right? And really, every time you find yourself dwelling on what could go wrong, you've got to shift your mindset in terms of what could go right. And so that's how you know you're making progress, is that inner consciousness. And you have that thought come up about like, I want to do this, but what if it's not good enough? Or what if nobody shows up? You want to catch yourself and imagining it going better, okay? Another way to do this is to take the power away from what you are so scared of. So this is our first journal prompt. You already know which of the 3, or maybe it's all 3 of them, is your main fear. So I want you to now, I'm going to give you like a minute or so. I'm going to play some music and just bullet journal. Like, what are you actually so scared of? So, okay, so well, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, nobody shows up. Okay, well, and then what? Okay, and then what? And then what? And just see what you can write down in terms of, if you did go all in on your personal brand, what is the worst thing that could what could happen based on what you said your fear was? So just a minute of bullet journaling here. Okay. Feel free to sit with that longer. You're going to get some homework throughout this presentation, so you can come back to that. Okay, love that some of you even took it one step further and put it in the chat. Thank you. Even when you hear that other people are having that same fear, how much less scary does that feel? You just kind of realize like, oh, this is textbook. This is so predictable. Look at me going again, worrying what people think, or thinking it's not good enough, or fearing that no one's going to show up. This is what everybody does. And when you start to just see it's like completely textbook behavior, then you can just name it what it is and choose again, choose to have another thought. So now we've identified like what really could go wrong. What are we so scared of? I'm going to give you some other ways to think about it. And so believing your business is valuable, right? So that's what we talked about at the beginning. Am I creating something that's actually solving a real problem, that is making the world better in some way, making someone's life better in some way? Is this actually a valuable product, a valuable service, a valuable offer? If you really believe it is, then that gives you the confidence. That gives you the confidence to push past that fear and to do it anyway, and to really believe that it's a disservice not to tell people about it. But then there's still those days where you just don't want to, right? It's still, even though you're like, hey, Sam, I know this is good, but the energy to show up and put myself out there and make a name for myself or create this or do this or put in this effort, some days it feels exhausting and I just don't want to do it. And so while that gives you the confidence, knowing your business success supports your ideal lifestyle is what gives you the motivation. And so I don't think we talk about this enough. Like there's a lot of thought leaders who are talking about creating offers that are valuable and make it about the customer and make it about them. And absolutely, that is what we need to do to build our confidence. But we also got to make it about us too, right? I really believe in creating win-win relationships where it's good for your customer, but it's good for you. And so if it works, yes, your customer has a valuable product, but then what is the benefit to you? If you can also make it about you, that's going to give you the motivation to do something on those days when you just really do not want to do it. And so I want you to think about, what difference would this make to you? I really think this is the sweet spot where your offers are valuable and, right? And this business makes a meaningful difference in my life. It's that win-win. And so when I think about creating the freedom lifestyle, this is a photo back from 2017. It says LDR, long distance relationship. And so back at this phase of my life, brown hair, younger Sam, I was in love with this boy and he was in a different country than me. I'm on the west coast of Canada now. I was living in Toronto at the time. He was living in San Francisco. That's a 5-hour flight, 3-hour time change. It was a lot going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And back in 2017, I had an office job. I did sales. I worked for a tech company. It's a pretty cool culture. I liked my friends. I was making good money. I thought the product was pretty cool, but they had zero work from home policy whatsoever, let alone, hey, can I go work from San Francisco? And no matter how much I would try to negotiate with my bosses about this, they would say no. And so I would literally have to fly at the end of the day on Friday and be back in the office for Monday. It's getting very expensive, getting very time consuming, not great for the environment. And I honestly felt like I would have to choose between this job that I had and this relationship that, I don't know, I felt like it was pretty promising. It had only been a few months, but you're just going to know maybe this is the one. So that is what I actually leaned into, that desire to make my relationship work as my motivator for creating the freedom lifestyle, for actually building a business that I could run from anywhere in the world. At the very beginning, it was selfish. I just wanted to create revenue streams that were flexible so that I could go spend as much time in San Francisco as I want, work from there, head back to Toronto, work from there. That was honestly the original motivation for the freedom lifestyle. I had no idea that almost a decade later, I would be impacting people's lives with this story and what I was learning and coaching and having all of this impact that I'm making. It was really selfish at the beginning and I made it about me. And that is what I needed to do to actually push past the uncomfort and move past that motivation of like, well, what will people think if I have a podcast? Or what if it doesn't work? Or what if I put myself out there and I fail? And fast forward, he's in the other room. We're married. I made the right bet. This was the one. And I'm so happy I did that. And so I want you to think about like, what is that sweet spot for you? If you go all in on your personal brand and you level up and it works, what difference would that make into your own life? And so second journal prompt, again, another minute or so, what can go right? And then what? And then what? And then what? And just bullet list as many amazing things as you can in this minute or so to get you excited. Build that motivation around here's the best thing that could happen if it all worked. A few more seconds. Okay, I'm going to stop it right at the build up there. I don't know if anybody who knows what that song is I'm playing, or if that's a reference for anyone else who loves that artist too. But I had a chance to go through the chat, and I'm loving some of the comments in here. Carol, the worst thing that could happen is that I didn't try. There's this image I love, and it's from Visualize Value, and it has 2 graphics, and it's a target on there. And one of the targets, it wanted target practice, a circle. I wish I had the image on my slide now. It has the exit of all the places they tried and didn't hit the bullseye. And then on the other target is they didn't try at all. And it's on this one, it says, this is not failure, this is. And I truly believe this, right? Failure is not even trying at all. Not trying it and not working. You can always learn from something. So I love that you said that. Okay. For any women that are joining on the call, just a quick slide. This idea of self-promotion and putting ourselves out there and the fear of our personal brand, this disproportionately impacts us in terms of our fear and not wanting to do it. Going back to that, oh, so textbook, here's my mind again, telling me it's not going to work. This happens to women even more. So it's even more of a reason that we get ahead of it. Okay. Okay. We did it. We addressed them. I don't think I solved it overnight, but hopefully here are some mental models that when you go through your life in the future, you just have Sam's voice in your head. Okay, here we go again. I'm focusing on what can go wrong. I really need to change this and think about what could go right. Okay, great. And then if it went right, here's how it can benefit me. And try to really, it's mindset work, right? It's not a step-by-step template and formula like I'm about to give you. This is inner work that you have to do, and you got to recommit to it, and it doesn't change overnight. You are literally changing the neural pathways in our brain, and so it requires some effort, but I swear it's so helpful. Okay, one of the big things that you hear about self-promotion, I talked about this earlier, is that you could never be done, right? Like you could always be marketing your business. You could always be marketing your service. And so I really want to help you with a self-promotion strategy so that you can post purposefully, not just post because Instagram said you have to post 3 times a day and create a reel every day, or you got to put out a weekly podcast episode indefinitely, and all these rules that they say when it comes to marketing yourself online. I want you to be purposeful about it, because the whole point is we want to live our lives and have our businesses support them, or at least that's my point. And so something I want you to be thinking about is, what do I want to be known for and by who? And that's really all it is getting the right people to think about you in the right ways and then take the right action, which is what we'll come to. And I feel like you can kind of get a sense of what you're known for based on what things your friends share with you. Like the number of people who sent me, there's like this viral content going around right now, and it's if cats went to Coachella, and it's all these cats with this different like festival sunglasses and looking all cool. And, this is just a lighthearted example, but it is true. Random people on the internet, when they think about cats or they think about festival life, they think that I would like that. And so they send that to me. So you kind of think about like, what are those things that people always send me that? Or another one is Taylor Swift. That's the song I was playing. So whenever Taylor's doing something, someone will send it to me. And so those are the things kind of in my personal life that I guess I'm known for based on what I've been putting out there. But of course, today's about our business. So what do you want to be known for and by who? It's really how you want to think about it. And I believe that every business needs a decision-making funnel. And not only every business, every offer within your business. Often people call this a sales funnel. But again, the semantics, self-promotion, sales, there's a lot of icky feelings around this. I really just think about it as you're helping people make a decision. You're helping people go from awareness that you even exist, or like what your offers are, to considering if they might be right for them, to actually buying, to then telling their friends about it. And then that whole loop starts over again. If you have an in-person, like brick and mortar physical business, this can happen within 15 minutes, right? Someone could be walking down the street, see your shop, walk in. Oh, didn't even know about this. Hey, I didn't even know you could get socks made of hemp in hot pink with a cat on them. Oh, that's interesting. I'm considering it, looking at the price. Oh, that sounds cool. Okay, I buy at the till. I immediately put them on. They give me a 20% off coupon to buy another pair of socks. I get home, I order 3 more. I post on Instagram about my new socks and I tell the world about it, and then someone else buys, right? That can happen in a physical business. When we are creating online businesses, which I'm guessing many of us on this call right now have a virtual component to your business, that decision-making funnel is going to take longer and you have to be a little bit more thoughtful about it. And so every single offer in your business needs one of these. And this is going to be some homework for you to do. You're going to get access to all of these slides. There's lots of links in here. And I want this to be super practical. But when you're thinking about your personal brand and getting the right people to know you for the right things and then take the right action, this is kind of what you want to be thinking about. So at the top of your awareness funnel, you might do things to just get people to be aware that your business exists or that you exist. Blog posts, podcasts, social media, freebies that you might put out there, PR you might be doing. That's all top of funnel to just even know you are there. But then someone might not buy on the first time they hear about you, right? So you want to actually warm them up a little bit. You want to get them off of, just public content and kind of get in your funnel a little bit. So maybe you get them on an email newsletter. Maybe you do gated content. Maybe you do live webinars like this, right? If you just saw one of my Instagram reels that's maybe 30 seconds, sure, you'd be like, that's interesting. I don't know if I want to work with her yet, but we're going to spend an hour and a half together today. You're going to get to know me a lot more. You're going to understand, is this style even a fit for me? Does she have knowledge that I would benefit from? This is much more middle of funnel. Bottom of funnel would be having a sales call. So maybe you offer free calls for your business. Maybe you have a time-bound promotion, like this month only. You have various sales period. That's your bottom of your funnel. And then advocacy is how you start everything again. So you might have an affiliate program or referral program. You might have a way to get testimonials from your customers. You might, give them something that they can share with someone, even just like stickers or branded merch that they could then be wearing and rocking in the world. That is how the funnel all starts again. So every one of the offers in your business needs one of these, and your homework is to think about what this could be for you. I'm going to give you a really practical example because I want this to be super practical, and you can literally steal mine. So that 3-month program I was telling you about the podcast mastermind, how to launch or grow your podcast, at the top of the funnel, this is all I did literally to sell out the program. So I created 1 podcast episode and I did 1 Instagram post. And this was just, the theme of it was why your business needs a podcast. So it wasn't salesy, it was educational, connecting the idea of entrepreneurs and the need for a podcast, because I knew I wanted entrepreneurs in the program. That was my ideal audience. So created that free content. And at the end of the podcast episode and at the end of the Instagram post, I said, hey, take the next step with me. I have a free checklist to launch your podcast. In order for them to download that, they had to give me their email. Right away, they got this amazing checklist. Okay, here's all the things that I need to do, gave them more value. At the end of that checklist, I invited them to attend a free webinar. This was an hour or so webinar where they got to learn how to market and monetize their podcast in 2023 and beyond. So I really positioned it as here's some cutting edge knowledge about podcasting, monetization. You're going to learn more about this. Again, attracting that person who's entrepreneurial, who's going to want to create revenue from their podcast. They're going to want to do it well. It's not just a hobby. I wanted entrepreneurs. And at the end of that, I invited them to have a free coaching call with me if they were interested. And then on that coaching call with me, I positioned it as I'm going to give you free advice about your podcast, no questions asked. And of course, on it, I told them a little bit about my program if they were interested in working with me. And I gave them an offer for if you buy within 24 hours, you get $100 off. Some people loved that. Some people find that's like a hard sell. So you can kind of play with that. You can say, I'll give you an extra thing if you book this week, something like that. And then at the end of the program, I asked people for testimonials, but I gave them something in return. So I said, hey, if you create a video testimonial for me at any time, you can get a free coaching call with me in the future. So here's a very specific example of what a funnel could look like. Without knowing a ton about your business, this is really great for higher ticket items, so $1,000 or so or more. But this is literally all I did. And then I just repeated that every time I launched this program. If you want to get more details in it, I created a podcast episode about how I did it. I'm linking it in here and you can listen on exactly step by step how I did this. So that's an example of one funnel. The second one, I really want you to think about though, when you are posting. So first we want to post purposefully and understand every time we're creating content, what part of the funnel is this going in? What do I want to be known for? And who do I want in this funnel? Because I also wanted the right people in the program, right? If I had somebody who is just willing to pay, but I don't know, they're really difficult to work with for whatever reason, they were outside of my ideal audience, that also wouldn't be that fun or pleasurable for me. They definitely wouldn't be telling people about it. It wouldn't have been a win-win. So you also don't want to just take anybody's money. You want to really think about who are those ideal people. So that's the first thing to think about. The second thing to think about, I'll play a little video. This is from a keynote I did a few months ago.
Sign up for my email newsletter.
Easy.
Listen to my podcast. Follow me on social media. Right now, we all have too much content. Right now, what you're fighting for more than anything in organic marketing is somebody's attention. If you're not willing to pay to get someone's attention, you've got to work for it.
Yeah, I really do believe that. And I'm sure all of you are experiencing the overwhelm, which is the online world. There's so much content out there. It has never been easier to become an entrepreneur. It's never been easier to create content. And so there's a lot of it out there. The days are kind of gone of just being like, okay, here's my free thing, or here's this. You have to really make it about them and let them see that out of all of the things that you have going on today and all of the things already on your mind and to-do list, this is the most important thing for you to do, or this really deserves your attention. And so at the end of every step in your funnel, you want to invite them to take that next step, and you really want to make it about them. And so I have a fun little this or that for you. So maybe you have an email newsletter, okay? For those who have an email newsletter, so many people I see on your website, not to call it out, it just says, subscribe to our email newsletter. People are unsubscribing to email newsletters. I know I do. The second I see one where I'm like, oh, I'm overwhelmed with this, unsubscribe, spam, get out of there, okay? It is not enough just to have an email newsletter. But if you had something like, join our email newsletter for weekly journal prompts, or a roundup of our favorite resources from the month, right? Or often you'll see for a 20% off coupon, right? That's another really common one with e-commerce businesses. But you cannot just say subscribe to our email newsletter anymore. You really want to make it about them. This is going to increase your conversion so much by just this tiny, tiny little tweak. Another example, follow me on social media, right? So many times do we do that. It's not enough anymore. The algorithm is insane, in my opinion. The fact that I don't even see content from my friends that I want to see anymore. I have X amount of followers, but only a small percentage of them are actually seeing my content. It's really challenging on these social media platforms. And so you can't just ask to be another person that somebody follows. But you could say something like, follow me on Instagram for a behind the scenes look at living the digital nomad lifestyle. So I'm at home right now in Canada, but I was just traveling for the last 4 months, put out a lot of content about how do you work from anywhere in the world, showed scenes of my workspaces in Costa Rica and the jungle and technology I had and how I was making friends. Kind of really gave people a behind the scenes look and more value. Again, positioning myself as somebody that someone likes, they knows, that they trust, but I'm giving them value on my social media when I do this. One more example, and then I'm going to get everyone here, whoever's comfortable, to actually share one of their call to actions. So big one, book a free discovery call. Okay, well, that's amazing that you offer free discovery calls in your business. I think those are so helpful, especially when you're selling higher ticket items. But what if you said, book a free no obligation call to get some immediate advice or immediate clarity on your next step? So yes, you can talk about your sales, your offers and things in the actual call, but rather than positioning it as a sales call and really giving them like a preview of what it might be like to work with you, that's going to right away disarm them. They're not going to be like on the defense in the call with you, thinking they're going to be sold to you really hard, trying to like catch you or anything like that. They're going to come to it really excited about the value that you could offer them. Amazing. You're going to give them a preview of whatever it is, and then they can have more confidence actually taking that next step. So here's a bit of a networking op. I'd love for everybody or whoever's comfortable to write one of their own call to actions in the chat. You never know who could be a good fit for your business in here. What is it? Do you have an email newsletter? Do you have a freebie? Do you have a podcast? Invite us to take some step with you, but do it in the way that I just explained, where you make it about the other person. So think about something that you have in your business. I know there was several full-time entrepreneurs here. If you're stuck, feel free to just tell me something. Okay, love that. Contact us for one free gallery tip or buying your first piece of art. And so the only thing I would say is I think contact us could be a little bit stronger. Perhaps you're actually giving people free advice via a call. I would love for you to say that, like book a free call with us where we'll give you tips on buying your first piece of art. Or if that's too time consuming for your gallery, maybe you create a freebie, right? Maybe you create some kind of digital document where it's like, here is what to think about when you're buying your first piece of art. And I bet right now, Monica, if I asked you, okay, like, right, I really want to replace this. I find this art is so basic in my office. I have this really cool like jungle wall beside me, and I've been wanting to replace this forever. I bet if I asked you, what should I look for? You could right away give me 5 tips. So maybe you could create a freebie that someone could download. Learn how to decorate your baby's room. Again, okay. So now just what is the action? Where do I learn that? Do you have like a YouTube series with like video clips about specifically how to decorate your baby's room? Right? Where would I learn to do that? Are we getting on a call? But I love how specific that is. And right away, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, very niche and very value forward. Learn how to teach your child to read without any training. Amazing. Okay, so these are really, really bold, like value propositions, like excellent value propositions. So now you just want to think about, well, what is that step you want them to take? So what is that first step in your funnel? It sounds like these are all very much awareness funnels. So what is that first step they should take with you? Is it a freebie? Is it a social media post? Is it a podcast that you're on? Think about it in that way. Request an in-store display with your own affiliate code to start earning 20% commission on Errol's products and services. Okay, love that. That's very specific. So right away, I get the value. I'm imagining I'm putting in my email and details, and right away, I'm getting in my affiliate code. Okay, perfect. And so one other thing I'll get you to think about is when you have that fear come up, it's often because we're making it about ourselves, right? We're so worried what people are going to think about me. Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Me, 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 me. And like, you want it to be about you, but in a different way. You want it to be about you in terms of it being successful, but not so much like what this means in terms of you in the eyes of other people. When we're doing that too much, we're being too self-focused, and we really want to make it about the other person. Right? We really want to be creating offers that genuinely are valuable for the right person. And so something that you want to think about is your ideal customer. And I'm sure so many of you have seen this before, but I want you to think about, okay, of all the customers I've served, who is the most profitable? Who is the most easy? Who is the most satisfying? Like, think of one person in your business and give them a name and put it in the chat. If your business hasn't launched yet, it can be aspirational. So just think of that person and give them a name. Who was like your best customer? If all of your customers was like this person, amazing, home run. This is exactly who I want to be selling to. For me, mine's Maddie. I'll put it in the chat. Just their first name. Alma, okay. Who else? Your ideal favorite customer. Okay, Tara. Families in Pain, New Mom Madison, Pam. Okay, Carol, see if you can actually maybe give that family a name. Maybe the Lalibertes, which is my last name, right? A family name, ideally someone you worked with. Okay, so that is when we talked about you want to be known for the right things by the right people. So you know what you want to be known for. You know what your business is. It's what your offers are. It's your thought leadership. It's your ideas. It's your vision for the world. It's that why you do what you do. So that's what you want to be known for. But you want to be really clear on who you want to know you in that way. And you really want to be thinking about that person and that person alone when you are putting yourself out there, creating content, marketing your business, using your personal brand. It's even when you are thinking about your own personal networks. Sometimes people can say, well, my audience is really niche. None of my personal friends or people that follow me would be a good fit for this. They know people, right? Word of mouth marketing is the cheapest form of marketing that you can have. If you can have a business that operates exclusively on referrals, how amazing is that, right? Where people are just mentioning you when you're not even there, you're literally sleeping and people are doing the sales for you. A warm introduction, a warm lead, that's amazing. And so even if you are known for that thing within your audience of people who aren't the right fit, they might tell other people about it. So you want to be clear, like who this is for, so that either that person, when they see your content, are like, this is exactly for me. It also helps you think more clearly about what content you are creating and what you are posting. But then you're also making it about them. And so this is homework for you, is if you have never done this before, to really like do the profile of that ideal person. We have the names, Alma, Tara, Maddie, you have the name. Fill all of this out, but I really think the most important thing that you know about that person is their pain profile and their desire profile. So when you are creating content, putting yourself out there, doing webinars, doing lives, creating social media content, going on podcasts, whatever it's going to be to grow your personal brand and market yourself online, this is the root of like your key talking points. is talking about concerns or frustrations someone might have. When I was launching my podcast mastermind, I would use language like, stop delaying a great show, right? So many people will have an idea for a podcast and they'll be like, oh, I've been thinking about launching this podcast for like a year. I think it'd be so good. People would love it. It's such a good idea, but I just haven't done it, right? So you speak to that frustration, like no longer delay it, like do it now. And then the aspirations, their goals, right? You could say something like, and create a brand new passive income stream for your business. Generate income passively, right? Maybe that could be one of the value props that someone aspires to or some goals that they have. So that's the language that you want to use, much more than just the features for your business, which we can often do. And that really taps into the why, that storytelling. People buy things typically emotionally, and then they justify their purchase logically. So the more you can tap into somebody's emotions, those fears, the frustrations, their aspirations, the goals they might have, that your business actually helps, right? Maybe your child is having trouble reading. That can be a real concern for a parent. They might worry that they're going to fall behind in class, or they're going to isolate themselves, or they're not going to be able to experience the joys of reading that maybe the parent loves. Maybe they read every night before bed and they're worried that their child may not have that, or all of these challenges or fears they might have. So you tap into that, like, and call it out a little bit and let them know that you understand that pain point, but then also position it as that transformation. So, but like, here's what can happen. I can get your child reading within 30 days. Your child will become their new hobby. They are asking for their own library card. They are like asking to borrow your book. They are asking to Saturdays. They want to spend it at the library. They are finishing books quicker than you can get them, right? Like they are part of the reading club at school. Like kind of paint that picture of what it could be like with your help. Having an understanding of this pain profile and the desire profile is going to help you not only be better and more effective at marketing online, so you don't have to do it as much, right? We don't want to do it all the time. But it's also just going to help you like get clear on where to start. Because copywriting and creating content, it can sometimes be like, well, what do I even talk about, Sam? So try to draw inspiration from that. One of my programs that I've launched is called Your Next 90 Days. And when you go to the website for this, at the very beginning, you see these imagine if statements. So rather than needing like weekly calls, group settings, journal prompts, templates, step-by-step, all of these features that they're going to get, that's just going to have somebody like treat you kind of transactionally. I bet there's a bunch of people who are creating similar programs with a weekly call at this price point and all of that. So we don't want to lead with that. You want to lead with the transformation. So I have things like, imagine this, you're saying yes to every experience and adventure guilt-free. Your year already feels like a win. You're satisfied with your progress. You feel relaxed. You feel content. You earned this. You feel so proud, right? So you really want to tap into those emotions, the transformation. So again, just some prompts and some things to be thinking about when you're actually creating this content, putting it out there, maybe describing an ebook, describing a podcast episode, selling something. Okay. Frequently asked question. How do I begin the process of self-promotion if I do not love social media? Completely fair. We have made it to the third and final part of this presentation, which is modern tools and technologies that you can use to tap into self-promotion. And many of them do not involve social media. You may have heard of the concept of people buy things from people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. Well, you often hear that about brands too. People buy brands that they know, they like, and they trust. So whether it's a personal brand or a product, this is a concept that I think still stands true today. That original marketing concept is well over a decade old, but I really think it speaks to consumer behaviors these days. And if anything, that bar is becoming higher and higher, that people really want to make conscious and intentional purchases. And so the first thing about like even just being known, What do we mean by that, right? Like being known. I see that as being visible so that when somebody needs something that you're selling, you're the first person they think of. Or if somebody has a friend come to them and says, hey, I'm having this challenge in my life, so frustrating. Oh, they think to refer you right away. That's really about being known. And sometimes you can do that using purely the internet, where you can be searchable exactly when someone needs that one thing. And so something that you can be tapping into is marketplaces that sell for you. This is a great solution for anyone who does not like social media, who doesn't want to be creating content, putting themselves out there on the internet for whatever reason, or doesn't want to do it that much and wants to also have some other quick wins where, the right customers are coming to them. And so you can tap into marketplaces that actually sell for you. Fiverr is such a good example of this. If you're not familiar with Fiverr, they are the world's largest marketplace for freelance services. So anyone can go on there, they can search for something they need, see someone who sells it, amazing, all the purchase goes right through there. You can also sell your services on Fiverr. And so, the person who's helping their kids read, I can see that being a service offered on there. Let's see some other examples. Bridal beauty checklist. Sure. Why couldn't you offer consultations on there for that? Learning how to decorate your baby's room. Absolutely. You could offer a consult call on your topic and sell that on Fiverr. I have a ton of success on Fiverr. You can go to my profile. Very proud, perfect 5-star rating. Don't want to mess it up. But I've now had about 1,000 different customers come through just Fiverr alone. And I just wake up to those orders. So people were searching for podcast support. My name comes up, they see my reviews, they purchase. Amazing. For anyone who's creating video trainings or any type of course, yes, you can sell your course yourself on your website and drive traffic to it using a lot of the things we talked about. You can also tap into marketplaces. So putting your courses on things like Udemy or Fiverr Learn. Again, it's already a place where people are going on and they're searching for what you need. There's so many great examples of marketplaces. Gig Salad is excellent for anyone who wants to be a public speaker, any type of entertainer, musician, DJ, MC. It's a marketplace for people who are hiring that type of talent for their event. Etsy, amazing for those product-based businesses. The art gallery in here, I'm curious if that can be a fit for you, is having some of your prints or pieces on there. Again, people are searching for a thoughtful gift. They're searching for something special. You already come up. You haven't done anything, had to do anything. Pick My Brain. That is great for anybody who is an expert in something. I see a lot of those on the call today. Sell an Hour, where someone can literally pick your brain about your expertise. And then this last one's just kind of a fun one. Trusted House Sitters. I have a cat. I travel half the year. This is a great solution for me. I find someone to come be in my home and take care of my cat. I make sure this person is vetted. They have reviews and their profile and their ID and everything is authenticated. And I can see some of the other pets they've taken care of. Amazing. Well, now I didn't have to just post randomly on the internet. Who will come live in my home and take care of my pet? Again, it's really just tapping into these places where they're going to sell for you. And then you don't have to rely so much on social media if that's not your thing. Who can tell me what these images are at the bottom here? What are all these square images? Put in the chat. Nice. You're right, Robert. So these are podcasts. But I'll take it one step further. These are all podcasts that I was featured in the last few months. And so a big way that I drive like and trust is through podcasts and through conversations. Often I'll work with people who want to get their name out there, get their brand out there, but they can get really intimidated by having to create content. Well, appearing on other people's podcasts can be a great solution. And why podcasts are so powerful, look at this stat. 80% of people who listen to a podcast listen to almost all of the episode or the full thing that they start. Think about how much of somebody's attention you have when you compare it to, I think, social media, it's a millisecond that people are scrolling and deciding whether they're going to stop and look at your content and read something or watch your video. If you've ever wrote a blog post, you know every single word needs to be very engaging to keep people on there. Videos, you got to be so animated. Even in this webinar, right? Let's see. Yeah, some people have left, right? Not everybody is going to stay fully engaged in something like this. It's over an hour. You're sitting at your screen. I'm trying my best to keep everybody's attention here, have some videos, have some different journal prompts, but it's hard to keep people's attention. But with podcasts, they've been able to nail it because there are these multitasking mediums where someone can listen to a podcast while doing something else. And so it really taps into our overscheduled lifestyles where we're so busy and trying to do so many things. And also, the science says that the act of doing something else while listening, you actually remember it more. Because typically people are going for a walk, doing the dishes, cleaning something up, working out, driving somewhere, where you're doing something else and you're much more focused on the listening experience, so you remember it. So this is why I'm really passionate about entrepreneurs having their own podcasts. But if that's not for you, and the idea of creating your own podcast and content is too much, every single person on this call right now can have a conversation. I bet I could interview every single one of you and you would crush it. And I would ask you some questions about why you do it, your business, what it's like, the frustration your customers have, the transformation you're bringing them through, why you started this, all of these interesting things. You could have a conversation with me about it. We could record that. That could be valuable. That could be a podcast episode. So I truly believe that appearing on other people's podcasts can be an amazing solution. And I would say that I have really mastered this because it's intimidating to create content. But like I said, everybody can co-create content and then repurpose it. So I'll play another little video again, try to keep everyone's attention and also just break up this presentation a little bit. Here's a video I put on Instagram last week.
I was featured as a guest on 5 different podcasts last month, and this is how I did it. Matchmaker.fm is a marketplace that connects people who have podcasts with people who want to be a guest on podcasts. With their free package alone, I get to pitch 10 different podcasts every single month about why I'd be such a great guest for their show. If you want to be pitching more shows than that, you just upgrade to their paid plan. Now, a pro tip for making yourself stand out as an amazing guest is suggest topics and themes for the episode, maybe even give the host some suggested questions that they could ask you. This is going to make their life so much easier. Trust me, I would know.
Okay, so this is the first modern tool that I wanted to introduce you to, matchmaker.fm. It's such a great solution. I mean, I just explained it in the video of how it actually works, but you can go in and you can search for different podcasts that are looking for guests. So I have my own podcast. I'm not looking for guests. I'm doing way more solo episodes now. When I do have guests, it's typically people that I'm finding naturally in my travels, in my adventures, in my own networking. I'm not really open for someone to just cold pitch me and be like, hey, I'd be a great guest on the Freedom Lifestyle podcast. So typically what happens, I have a folder in my email. It's called podcast guest inquiries. And as soon as I get an email and it's clearly a pitch, I just put it in there. And they have just been building up for years, and I've never honestly gone through them because I'm not looking for guests. Well, how discouraging would that be if I told you to go pitch yourself on podcasts and you pitched yourself on 10 podcasts who were like me and you didn't hear back? They would throw you off. You would be like, well, what's the point of the strategy? It's not working. I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah. We don't want that, right? The biggest threat to our business, in my opinion, is losing our confidence and questioning our own talents and our gifts. So I want to protect you from that as much as possible. This is amazing because these people are looking for guests. So you can search categories, you can search various things, you can message the person, you can send them a voice note or just a text-based pitch. And again, make it easy for them. Give them some ideas of things that you could talk about in the episode itself. And like I said, I'm getting 3 out of the 10 people I pitch a month say yes. More than enough for me. If you want to be on more shows than that, you just pay for their program. So that's matchmaker.fm. And what typically happens is you get a video And then it's like, what do you do with that now? So you have this podcast episode, and I really believe in repurposing your content. There's a strategy right now in content, which is called from long to short. You've seen this, you just saw one of my short form clips. And so what people will do is, okay, they go and they appear on someone's podcast. And then after the podcast episode is done, they'll ask for a copy of the interview. And then you can then take that 30, 45, 60-minute interview and break it up into smaller pieces of content. You can turn it into a blog post, turn it into an email newsletter, pull some insights and create short form videos. And you can just do this every single month. That would be a lot of work, right? Again, we're trying to do this more simply. And so here is how you can do it using AI, which does half of this work for us. So we get on a podcast, we ask for the video, and then you pop your video into this tool called video.ai. Again, everything's linked, and a lot of these tools will give you different offers if you use my link. So I'll make sure you get this. But basically, I took this hour-long video. I was interviewed on this podcast. This woman's interviewing me. You can see my jungle wall that's over there, not like this boring art, which I definitely want to follow up with the art gallery on some advice there. And I got interviewed, and then I took the hour-long video, and all I did was I threw the full thing into this tool. Took a few minutes, right? It's not instant. It's a lot to process. And then what it did is it turned that one video into 30 smaller videos, 30 shorts. So shorter clips up to a minute or so of the video where I said something that was interesting or a piece of thought leadership or an insight. No, it's not just like randomly cutting off mid-sentence or anything like that. It like finds an actual insight or piece of content that you could then share. And it basically turns it into a bunch of short clips. You then just review them and you're like, okay, that one's cool. That one's pretty good. You change the font, you make sure everything looks good. And then you now have these shorter video clips. So here's an example. This literally took me less than 5 minutes. So I was on the person's podcast. I then threw it in here. I used this tool, and this is what it created. But I did notice when we were forced to work from home, there was a lot of challenges with that because we weren't set up for it, right? We were working from our beds, and we were working with our partners in the same room as us and our kids at home. And it was very distracting and disruptive, and it was hard for people to see the power of it. And so I always say, like, it's really not about working from home. It's about working from anywhere. Okay, so that is a perfect piece of the interview that the AI found that really positioned me with the topics I want to be known for, right? Freedom lifestyle, working from anywhere, this lifestyle that I'm promoting and selling and talking to people about. And that took me less than 5 minutes to create. So that's just one example. There's another tool. I'm not sure if it's linked in here, but Capshow. And you would then do the same thing, and it can turn it into a blog post. So it would literally like summarize the key themes that you said in that hour-long conversation. Again, something we do all the time. This is why I lead with podcasts. Turn into a blog post, or it can turn it into an email newsletter. It can turn it into a caption for social media. It can turn it into a tweet for X/Twitter. And so much of it is done now through AI. You always want to take a second pass, right? It has to sound like us, has to be our voice. You want to, you don't just want to post exactly what's on there. But it does, I would say, like at least 90% of the work. And that's going to allow you to really repurpose this content and create more. Get your name out there, be known for the thing you want to be known for by the right type of person. And so that is a strategy I really love. When you actually go on a podcast, you might think, okay, well, that's great, Sam. You got me featured on 5 podcasts next month. And now what? Like, how do I prepare for the podcast? I'm ready. I'm excited. I know this is good for my personal brand. Or, okay, I'm ready to create my own podcast, Sam. But like, what do I talk about? So this is something I want you to think of. We remember stories, not facts. If I had said to you, before I integrated mindset work into my program, only 25% of my students were launching a podcast. You might remember that because it's pretty shocking. You're like, wow, I can't believe she's telling us this. She's supposed to be good at her job, and she's announcing that she's not very good at it. So maybe to remember for that, but for the most part, it's just going to kind of go in one ear and out the other. Versus when I told you the whole story around it, right? Where I brought into the emotions, how I was feeling. I had to start talking to other coaches about it. I really took it personally. I wondered why I was doing wrong. And so then I integrated all this new stuff. And all of a sudden now people started posting and actually launching their podcast 80% of the time. Now it's changed everything I do in my coaching program. And that's why we're doing it today. That's going to be much more memorable for you. And that's going to stick with you. And so when you're preparing for these opportunities to be interviewed or to create your own content, I want you to think about, like, what are your stories? What are the stories that would get somebody to either like you or to trust you? And like, okay, well, what does that even mean? So stories that make someone like you, relatable, common ground, stories where you're vulnerable, stories that are authentic. So again, me trying to create common ground about lifestyle freedom, me talking about being a 20-something in love with my boyfriend at the time, traveling around the world. Okay, that's very like vulnerable, authentic story. Anybody can relate to that. You can imagine what that felt like for me, even if you hadn't had that. So these are some examples of stories that can get someone to like you. And then trust you would be, okay, what is the transformation? So what are some examples of transformations your clients have had? What are their stories that you can talk about? Have you had a personal transformation? Do you have a story to tell that it worked for you? Those are the types of stories that are going to make somebody credible. And you really want to balance the both. Like if I just had a bunch of stories that were just about me, I like Taylor Swift, I like cats, me and my boyfriend, we're now married. You'd be like, okay, this girl's, I don't dislike her. Maybe I like her, but I'm definitely not going to buy any of her coaching programs. I'm definitely not going to trust her necessarily with the fate of my business. But when you integrate these, okay, well, here's the proof. Here's some success I've had. Here's how it's worked for me. Here's my own case studies. Steal this, use this. Then you also position yourself as someone who's trustworthy. You also don't want to just lean on the trustworthy piece, because people also want to do business that they enjoy working with and enjoy doing business with. You want them to have a pleasurable experience working with you. And so you really want to balance the two. This is some homework for you to think about your stories. This is how I would prepare for an interview. What are a couple examples of stories I want to integrate? When I'm doing webinars or presentations, I think about the few stories I want to tell that's going to really help people instill and remember exactly my point, but also help people trust me and get them to like me. That's how you want to prepare. And then another tool I want to show you is, if you haven't heard of Descript, this is like literally my favorite tool on the internet. Maybe you have already. It's a bit old by now. But let's say you want to take it one step further and you want to really create your own content, maybe create your own podcast episode, create your own YouTube series. You're really excited. You have your stories. You're ready to go. You're like, yes, I worked past the fears. Okay, like how do I actually create the video now? How do I actually create the podcast episode? No one explains it better than them. So I'll show you their video.
Into text. So in this,
Not at the beginning. There we go.
there's going to come a day when you think,
I should record this presentation.
We should do a podcast.
A pod what?
I should start a YouTube channel.
I should record my screen.
Hey guys.
Hey everyone.
And
We're pushing.
I've never actually. Oh my god.
We record a lot of stuff.
yep, you do. But before you share it,
Sent.
Oh, no.
I don't like this.
you're going to want to edit it first.
Uh-oh.
But editing is.
Hard, I know. Where do you even start, right? Well, I'll show you where to start. Meet Descript. It's a powerful new tool that makes editing easy. So easy that you'll want to edit videos.
Nice.
How does it
Work? Well, first you need some video or audio. If you've already got some, just drag it right into Descript. Wait for it.
Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. Hopefully my little guys don't fall.
Whoa.
What?
Nah.
Yeah, it takes your audio and turns it into text. So when this happens,
All right guys, I'm going in.
Sweetie.
What? Dinner. I'm doing a thing, Mom!
you can cut it out like this. Yeah.
Okay.
How about that?
But get this, Descript can turn your text back into audio.
I'm pretty sure this is a first edition super rare creature kawaii. I was wrong. It's a 7th edition, more common than water creature kawaii.
It's called Overdub. Just type what you meant to say right into Descript.
I'm pretty sure this is a 7th edition creature kawaii.
Are you
And for those who need it, Descript has a screen recorder built right in.
Hey everyone. We're pushing a big update today to our content management system.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop you right there. This is so boring.
I know.
Check it out.
Hey everyone. We're pushing
With a click, you can remove every kind of, like, and whatever the hell that is.
Hey everyone. We're pushing a big update today to our CMS.
That's so cool.
Hey.
And with a few clicks, you can publish your project right to the web and easily share with anyone.
Okay, you can watch more of the video if you want. Curious if anyone has been using Descript or is familiar with it. When I was creating my podcast back in 2017, we had to use, oh my gosh, can't even remember the name. Like, not, I guess, iMovie or GarageBand. Wow, flashback. And when you had to edit content, all you were looking at was literally the bars, the sound bars. That's how you were creating your podcast episodes. Go through it. I think I said there. Slice at the beginning of slice at the end of delete, merge the content. Do that hundreds of times if you have filler words, which so many of us do. And it was very, very time consuming. Now you can create both videos and podcast episodes or audio content, just like you're editing a Google Doc or Microsoft Word presentation or an email, erasing things, copying and pasting things, control find to find different sections of it. So really slick tool that's going to help make it so easy. And often once we empower ourselves with these tools, you might not have even thought that you had the capacity to create something because you didn't know you could do it. Once we start empowering ourselves with things like this, it's really exciting to see what type of creativity we all have inside of us and what we might want to create from that. So I encourage you to check out these tools. Again, I'm going to link them in the presentation so you can get various discounts and things like that through my referral links. And we're basically at the end now. So thanks for everyone who stuck to the end. To wrap it up, here's what we learned that I want you to remember. I want you to be posting purposefully. So every single offer in our business, it needs a decision-making funnel. I want you to take as your homework today to think about one of the offers. If your business grew overnight by selling one thing, what would be the thing you'd be so excited to sell? Hundreds, millions, whatever of? Think about that and map out the path that someone is going to go through from discovering you, and not someone, sorry, your favorite customer is going to go from discovering you, considering you, choosing you, and then referring you. We have to earn their attention. We have to give them a compelling reason to take the next step with us through a very strong call to action where we make it about them. So listen to this podcast episode for a step-by-step process that I went through to sell my mastermind program and create another $40,000 in my business this month. Something like that, right? Very value forward. And okay, this is the most important thing I should do today. Focus on your one favorite customer. So we named them today. If you didn't have a chance to do it, that's your homework. And really think about what it was there. Even go back to that person. What was their desire? What was their pain profile? I mentioned my friend Maddie. She was working a 9-to-5 job. Her boyfriend at the time was about to go on a year-long trip to Australia. She really wanted to build a business that she could run from there, and she couldn't do that in her current agency. Very similar story to mine. We are often best set up to serve the person we once were, or to support someone in the way that we had to figure out for ourselves, right? That's why she's my favorite customer. She's the easiest type of person to sell to, because I can really speak to her challenges that she had and the desires she had, and connect with her in that way and sell her on that transformation. We've got to scale through know, like, and trust. So we leverage marketplaces. We tap into our natural abilities of having conversations and telling stories. And then we use AI and different modern marketing tools to streamline our efforts. Find our sweet spot. We want a business that's both good for our customer, but also good for our own lives, right? That's the sweet spot. And then to take action on this, I will give you an opportunity to take the next step with me. We're going to do some Q&A as well. Hopefully you have some questions. If not, then you can bring them to me on a call. So you can implement all of this yourself. I've given you everything, my best work here. Things are linked. I'm even going to give you another training. Or of course, you can have this implemented with a mentor or some type of community to support you with, which of course is what I offer. So if you want to do the DIY option, this is a bonus training that I created. It's on my website. You can go watch that. I'm also on Instagram. We can normalize self-promotion together. Often the more you see other people putting themselves out there and doing it and standing up for their ideas, it makes it so much more normal, and our environment is so powerful. So I follow back. Let's follow each other and be our own social media cheerleaders. And then if you might want some support, so I am offering free calls from anyone who joined this webinar. I would love to give you some clarity on your next 90 days, give you some immediate feedback, and I can tell you a little bit about my 90-day program and see if that might be a good fit for you. But either way, it's no obligation. That's a free link to book in my calendar that I'm offering for this month. And even if you don't want to work with me, I would love to just hear, what did you like from this presentation? What were your favorite parts? Anything you can help me improve it for the next audience. So that's it. I see some questions in the chat. You're welcome, Angela. Thank you so much.
Sam, it does look like we also have a question in the Q&A. So Chris is asking, thoughts on the creep of personal into business social accounts. I'm interested in keeping a divide between the two, even though I realize the benefit of showing vulnerability and real life info in the biz accounts.
Okay. So I'm just going to paste the link to the presentation in there. And so the idea of wanting to keep them separately, I think that this is a common thing that people want to do. And I think you can have separate accounts. I think there's a lot of benefit in creating a brand around your business that's independent from you, that has its own visual identity, and it's so much, more specific than who you are as a person. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's great. I think that it's a missed opportunity to not tap into our own personal networks in some way. An example that I often share in this presentation is my very first business was a fashion and accessories company, and it was called Ezzy Lynn. And we had this beautiful logo. It was a jellyfish. We went all in on the brand. All of our social media accounts were the brand. Every time we got articles in PR, we went back to the business website. Everything was about that brand. And we weren't really leveraging our personal networks. I ran that business for 3 years, grew all of those social media accounts, grew that domain ranking, which we know is important with search engine optimization and getting your business discoverable. I did all of that. Well, where the story ends, that business ended after 3 years. And not only do all of those now social accounts go dormant, but we actually had an ambassador program. And one of our ambassadors got the jellyfish tattoo or jellyfish logo tattooed on their body. So now they're in the world with our jellyfish logo, which this business does not exist anymore. And it was from that experience that I really felt like, okay, we can go and put all of our energy into our business brands, but our lives are so long and they're getting longer. And as entrepreneurs, we're often starting multiple businesses throughout our journey. And I think the one thing you can always count on is your personal brand, is the brand of you. So if you are going to do that, I would challenge yourself to at least leverage your personal networks in some way and be thinking about your personal brand so that if this business ends, you still have this other engaged, growing community that you can rely on for your next thing. That's honestly how I see it. Anybody else?
Thank you. You can also raise your hand if you want to verbally ask Sam your question, and we can unmute you.
I'm also going to put the link to book a free call.
Thank you. Any other questions? You answered everything they needed to know about self-promotion, Sam. That's incredible.
Hopefully.
I think so. Sam, what is the easiest way for them to reach you? Is to book the free call, or you're also welcome to put your website into the chat so that they can have that.
For sure. I'll put my social media just because I think that's the best way for us to have a two-way relationship. And like I said, become each other's self-promotion cheerleaders. If you're not on Instagram, you can always send me an email with any specific questions that you have. Or if you want to listen to the podcast and just kind of do that DIY approach, there's almost 100 episodes now on the Freedom Lifestyle podcast. Many of them are interviews with other freedom seekers, so other entrepreneurs like you who had a vision for their dream life and figured out how work and their business could support that. And then I do solo episodes where I teach various things. So lots of different ways to find me on the internet. And if you want specific coaching on anything, if you want to implement anything we spoke about today, like I said, I'm offering these free calls for anyone who stays till the end as a thank you to that. And then I'm also open to any feedback on how to make this presentation better.
Thank you. Elijah actually has their hand up.
Cool.
I think we can unmute you, Elijah.
Hello.
Hello.
Sam, thank you so much. That was really, really helpful. And I didn't know what quite to expect. So you exceeded my expectations.
Thanks.
So that last question that was asked, I think that's part of the challenge. So I was a teacher. I had an idea for a software, started a company, grew it, sold it, and
congrats.
Then it was great. Worked in that company for a few years and now I have a chance to work with a lot of early stage educational technology companies. But I still work directly with schools as well and in schools. And so I have the full funnel idea, if you will.
Nice.
Of working through an offering, a coaching program / book, the whole pieces, all those things. But that question was really good because that's part of the challenge is how do you want the world to know you effectively? And it's hard because as an entrepreneur, I have multiple businesses I'm involved in now. So my wife is the only one who maybe understands a little bit. So when people ask, what are you involved in? It's like, well, this, that. So could you speak to that just a little bit more in terms of the brand building with various ventures? I have an idea how they all feed into each other, but I also don't want it to be so disparate that the community, market, whatever you want to say, doesn't really understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Totally. I mean, I experienced that challenge myself. I have so many different products and services, and figuring out a way to have them all come together is a challenge. People really want to put people in boxes, right? What do you do? Give me the 30-second elevator pitch and I can know exactly about you. And so the way I think about it is I kind of have different elevator pitches and different things I want to be known for different offers and on different channels. And I wonder if that's a way you can help organize things a little bit more for you. So for example, if we're talking about social media purely, right? The content that I'm putting on LinkedIn is going to be different than the content I'm putting on Instagram and then the content I'm putting on my podcast. And so that is one way to organize it, is just like streamline what you're known for per platform based on who's typically on those platforms, right? And also what people are typically on those platforms for. Instagram is a little bit more of entertainment, leaning edutainment, whereas LinkedIn, people are looking for thought leadership. People are looking to consume articles. People are looking to learn and connect. So that's one way you could really think about it. For these businesses, have you created separate domains and email lists and social media channels, or is everything operating under Elijah, right? Under your name?
So the plan is larger opportunities to work with the companies, whether it's in exchange for equity or as you go deeper down the funnel, right? So there's a larger number up top. I have been taking opportunities as they come And so I haven't had a need to really streamline the top side of the brand because it's just kind of happened naturally. So no, I don't have the domains outside of like the individual companies themselves.
Okay. So it's a business of you.
Yeah, it's my personal side of it is more, for lack of a better term, personal.
Yeah.
It's not social media. I want to get there so that I can create additional larger, smaller price point opportunities on the top side. But the bespoke work is on the bottom, and that's really what I've been focusing on.
Well, it sounds like you've been able to build a business based on your personal contacts and referrals, and that's amazing. That's a great place to start, and that's a great place to have the cash flow coming in and have a successful business. But you're realizing, okay, well, this is working. How can I think bigger? How can I tap into the online world, work with people who don't know me, don't trust me yet, and how can I have that streamlined? So really, you're just building a personal brand around your own thought leadership, around your own expertise. And so for you, I would think about investing in some form of long form content, whether you're like creating your own blog post or creating your own podcast content, something where it really positions you as an expert, someone who has something to say, someone that has something to teach. And then from that, I would offer like different freebies or downloads or incentives to get on some kind of email list with you, and take that next step. And there's so many really cool email softwares now where you can tag people based on things that they do. So if you want to figure out which offer or product might be better fit for somebody, you would send one email, give them a couple options of things that they can do within the email, 2 different links based on which one they clicked on. They would then be in a different funnel, right? Where it's like, okay, clearly this is somebody who maybe has lower price point. Maybe I want to start marketing this to them. Or maybe this is somebody who is a great fit for this. I want to get a call with them. This is like a multi-figure opportunity. And so I would say that could be a good solution for you too. But first you need some longer form content that positions you as the expert that it sounds like you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel like I got a free session with you. So
You're welcome. Feel free to book a call. Yeah, we can chat more.
Thank you so much. And one last piece to that is the scalability. You obviously understand this very well. Your team, what does that look like? How do you have, obviously working with you would be one way for me to have you as a part of my team, but I think it's difficult to find people that understand it at the level that you do. So how do you surround yourself with good people that understand this like yourself and can help you grow?
That's a great question. I heavily invest in myself. I'm always in at least a mastermind or someone's coaching program. I'm a Boss Babe Society member, which is the largest community for female entrepreneurs. And so I live in a really small mountain town where people move here to live in their vans and go rock climbing all day and skiing and mountain biking. And it's honestly not a very entrepreneurial business community. And when I moved here, I panicked because I moved from the city of Toronto where every night I could go to a networking event and meet entrepreneurs or like be in that environment. And so I had to learn how to build it. How could I have this cool life I wanted to live where right after this, I'm about to go for a walk on the river. I have to run an appointment in a few hours. I'm going to drive there. It's going to be 2 minutes, free parking outside. Like I wanted the easy living, but I still wanted to be surrounded by A players and entrepreneurs. And so the online world is amazing for that. And I really learned that you can just often pay to be part of these communities. If you don't have money to invest in masterminds or programs, there's so much incredible free content. Like podcasts are an amazing resource where you can learn from people. And again, it's that longer form content where you can go much deeper than just reading someone's Instagram post or, watching a quick video. You really have a more intimate experience with them. So I would say podcasts are great if you are starting out and don't have a bigger budget. If you're ready to invest, then joining these communities where, because there's an entry fee, then that already kind of establishes the fact that these are successful entrepreneurs in some capacity, right? And of course, there's like $50,000 masterminds and there's like $1,000 masterminds. So the spectrum always exists.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Sam. I don't think we have any other questions at this point. So I just wanted to thank you again for all of your time and these tremendous resources. Thank you all for hanging out. We always have more webinars coming up the third Wednesday of every month. Our next one is our quarterly State of AI webinar, which is next week on May 15th, followed by People, Process, and Tools Clarifying Your Talent Strategy. That one's targeted mostly at tech businesses on June 12th. You can check out our webinars and other events at jumpstartinc.org/events. As Sam mentioned, and as I mentioned before, at the end of today's session and in a follow-up email, you'll receive a brief survey. We appreciate your feedback. It allows us to continue to bring in amazing experts like Sam, and also allows her to gain some insight into how your experience went. So that being said, we hope to see you at our next webinar, and thank you all, especially you, Sam, for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.